The Abyss Bar is arguably the best part of the space rig. Classy dance moves, tons of drinks, a little guy to slap, and who could forget Lloyd the bartender robot, who I'm pretty sure is a reference to this creepy guy in The Shining. There's a pretty lengthy list of menu items available, and some of them are even beneficial to the player. There's also some beers that make you burp and fart, so that's pretty cool. I've wanted to cover this topic in a video for a while now, so let's dig into the drinks of DRG, what they do for the players, and why they're pretty cool. On the menu, there are 3 different categories of drinks. At the top is today's special, the next is corporate issue, and last but not least is craft beers. To order a round, the employee has to be rank 3 or higher, and each drink can cost credits or brewing-specific resources. Brewing ingredients can spawn in any random mission type or biome, but it's pretty infrequent. There are 4 different kinds to come across, and they tend to build up in your inventory pretty quickly as there's no real use for them outside of brewing. Starch nut appears most commonly of all, with each plant housing 1 to 4 purple bulbs. Yeast cone is very similar looking, but comes in a dark blue color, and it's much less common. These also can spawn with 1 to 4 bulbs per plant. Malt star appears just about as often as yeast cone and has the same yield, but its appearance is very distant from the previously mentioned plants. I think this is my favorite looking of the 4 if that means anything to anyone. I just think it looks nice. Lastly is barley bulb. These can only spawn with 1 bulb per plant, and it's bright red. Barley bulb is highly sought after mostly because it's used to brew today's specials. These are beers that provide buffs during a mission. To get access to these, the player has to grab a license to brew them, and that costs a few ingredients and some credits. There are 8 different special brews, but there's only 1 available at a time. The drink that is available will rotate on the same timer as missions. These buffs only last for 1 mission, and they do a variety of things to improve player efficiency and chance of survival. One really confusing detail about the drinks is the stats listed on the description are actually not accurate. In the current version of the game, these buffs seem to apply twice, so I'll have the actual stats that should be displayed in the game here in the video. Let's take a look at each of these drinks and the buffs they offer, and also when to order them or skip them. Red Rock Blasters increase player max health, and that's pretty amazing. Useful in pretty much any situation, so if a mission looks tough, it'll never hurt to grab around. The best time to grab these would probably be on warnings like shield disruption or lethal enemies. I can't really think of a time where you shouldn't get these. I mean, if you're doing a lower hazard than usual maybe, I don't know. Rocky Mountain reduces the amount of hits it takes to destroy terrain by 2. I think this is my favorite drink. It's extremely useful in all biomes except sandblasted corridors, since the terrain already takes 1 hit on that region. The usefulness of mining in 1 hit is a very broad thing. It pretty much extends over any objective and general gameplay. Getting up to a hard to reach vein of minerals, digging through dirt is faster, opening up uplinks so it's easier to fight. You get the gist of it. It's really good in many scenarios. It's worth mentioning that this buff does not make gold 1 hit, but you can kind of like mine the terrain around gold, and sometimes mining it like that is faster. Tunnel Rat is a good option for anyone who's prone to falling very far and dying, which seems to be quite a common problem for dwarves. This buff is pretty significant, reducing fall damage by 60%. For any scouts still learning the ropes, or just anyone struggling with fall damage, this is a no-brainer. That being said, if you have low gravity on a mission, you should probably just skip this rodent-themed drink if it's available. It's pretty damn hard to take fall damage on a low gravity mission. I mean, you really have to be asking for it. Slayer Stout cuts the power attack cooldown to 1/4 of what it usually is, and it's fantastic. This can help a dwarf in a variety of ways, but most importantly, hitting a lot more bugs with some devastating attacks. Some enemies like rival robots and oppressors are extremely weak to pickaxe damage, so it can be really great to have your power attack charged that much more often. I can't really think of a situation to skip this one. I mean, just pretty much get it every time you see it. Skullcrusher Ale increases base pickaxe damage by 20. This can be useful on any mission type again, which is a plus, and 20 more damage on the pickaxe is honestly a really nice little bonus. One neat thing is that Ebonut actually breaks in one less hit when this buff is applied, so keep that in mind if you have that as an objective. I don't really know how useful it is to break an Ebonut in one less hit, but it makes me feel happy. Backbreaker Stout increases movement speed while holding heavy objects. This is handy in any mission type, but especially on point extraction and egg hunt. If the secondary is Gunk Seed, or you're in a biome where the crafting materials are Enor Pearl or Jadiz, I also recommend getting around to these. Dark Morkite adds a multiplier of 1.4 times to any Morkite mined during the mission. Obviously, these are only useful when Morkite is the objective, so either on mining expeditions or during deep dives. Pots of Gold quadruples the amount of gold received from mining, and as you can imagine, the dwarves like this one. An important note, this only applies to gold mined with a pickaxe. Satchel charges, EPC mining, and Bosco do not get the bonus gold. It's good in combination with Gold Rush, and I find it particularly good on mining missions since those typically have a lot of gold. It's nice to get a Crassus when you have this too, but also kinda not. Since you can only use your pickaxe, it takes forever and your inventory fills really quick. I would advise avoiding this on point extraction since you would have to bring every inventory of gold back to the mine head, and that is a pain in the ass. It's not fun at all. And on-site refining is about the same. I guess you could say pipes are faster, but I still don't like doing it. This is the only today's special beer I would recommend avoiding for the deep dives. Now personally, I think that 8 special beers is a little slim. I think they could add more to the game in the future, so I actually came up with a few ideas for some that I think would be cool to see in the game. My first idea was Scout's Eye Stout. This would make ores and secondary objectives illuminate brighter in caves, kind of like a spelunking potion in Terraria. I think it would mostly be used for the secondary objectives, because stuff like Dystrum and fossils are still kind of difficult for people, and it'd also be nice for Morkite missions if you're in Azure Weald or something and it's hard to see it. The next one would be Extra Hops, and this would give players double jump. The only problem with this is if a player joins late, they wouldn't have the buff, which is kind of a problem. But man, do I just want some double jump in this game again. I miss you, Jump Boots. You were too good to be true, but oh boy, were you fun. Lucky Logger would increase luck, meaning it would raise the chances of machine events, cargo crates, lost packs, bitter gem, error cubes, and compressed gold spawns. My last idea was Hoarder's Brew, and this would increase carrying capacity by 15, making the max capacity 75 with all the upgrades added. Alright, now we move on to the corporate issue beers, which don't really have any buffs other than getting drunk, if you consider that a buff. Glyphid Slammers are apparently a mix of cheap ale and an energy drink. This sounds like a horrible beverage. I don't know how this is the most expensive of the 3 corporate issue ones. It's kind of baffling. To give it a little credit, it is served in a mug with a funny tooth design. If you have the supporter edition though, it'll be like a gold mug, and it looks all fancy. It's pretty good. Oily Oafs are considered a staple of the Abyss Bar, apparently being rich and buttery by the description. It is also dirt cheap, making it a great option for a crew on a budget. Sporting a classic mug and a pretty slick label, I'm never against an Oily Oaf. And lastly, we have Leaf Lovers. Now Leaf Lovers, if you don't know, it removes the drunk status effect, and it's looked down upon by nearly all dwarves across the board. Do not drink this if someone is watching you. If you're in a public lobby, you can't do this, all right? You can't. You're gonna get shunned, and they're probably gonna call you all sorts of names. The last part of the menu is the craft beers, and these are just fun. There's 13 options available, and each one has a unique effect that is applied to the player for a short period of time on the space rig, so sadly these won't come with you on missions. I don't really want to sit here and ramble about 13 different drinks, partially because it would be kind of boring, but I also think everyone should figure out what these do by themselves. That being said, I will bring up just a couple of my favorites. Other than those, you gotta figure them out on your own. Smart Stout increases the IQ of the dwarf by about 8 million for a very short period of time. In that time, they say some very intelligent things. Here, I'll play some of them for you.
Wait a minute. If all truths are knowable, then all truths must in fact be known. But by whom? Carl would know. Imagine. Hey! Why don't we put guns on Molly? I see everything so clear. The meaning of a dwarf's life is to... Wait. Let's just get some more brew.
Wormhole Special opens some sort of wormhole on the dwarf when consumed, and it can send him to a couple different locations, some of which being in space. This is great when used after drinking a Flintlock's Delight, and it can create this amazing scenario. Lastly, Underhill Deluxe somehow makes dwarves even shorter than previously possible, and I just love how many sneaky places you can find when you're this small. I mean, it's just a great time. I kind of wish this one didn't wear off so that I could play Tiny Man hide and seek in the rig. It'd be really fun. One thing you might notice while consuming all of these alcoholic beverages is that some of them get the dwarves a bit more tipsy than others. That's because some drinks have a higher potency than others, and there's actually a drunkenness scale from 0 to 100 in the game. 0 being completely fine and you haven't had any drinks, and 100 is passing out. The majority of beverages sit in the 10 to 25% range, but a few of them get into 40%, and obviously Blackout Stout is 100%. A little challenge that a few players do is get their drunkenness percentage as high as they can by drinking a specific set of drinks to get near passing out but not fully there. I typically use Seasoned Moonrider, Gut Wrecker, and Mactera Brew. Here's some gameplay of how that experience looks, and if you get really motion sick, don't try this out, it'll be a nightmare. While the impact the drinks have on gameplay may be small, it can't be overstated how much they add to hanging out with friends in the space rig. Player hubs are a huge part of games like this. I really can't think of a better fit for DRG than a scrappy space bar filled with drunk dwarves, flossing and doing the Gangnam Style and whatever this dance move is. Actually, don't do that last dance. I don't ever want to see it again. Thank you so much for watching my video. Rockin' Stone.
Thing, if you could make one of the 2 new mission types about running an underground Burger King, and I asked if I could set up a little food stand kind of thing to sell to some dwarves. Maybe a crown, maybe a crown please ghost ship. Still haven't gotten my birthday boy Burger King crown, so hit me up if you want to work on a crown together.